Hey, I'm Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC and Fox 23, Shevchenko versus Pena. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug a couple of things. First is my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. Next thing I'd like to plug is my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, where I do read some of my stories, short stories, and like novels and whatnot, and do like things like manga reviews. I also have like list for like movies and like manga, anime, TV, and whatnot as well. And then I also have a uh, new short story collection, 10 compilation of 10 short stories of different genres. Um, on Amazon.com for $2.99. There's over like 100 pages of like content there. So on to this card. I like this card. There were a couple stinkers like Alvi Marquardt, Sterling Asuncio. Otherwise, most of the other fights are pretty good actually. Um, Actually, all the well, except for Pantoja versus Shelton, and Johnson versus Enrique da Silva. Um, the other fights that I felt were good also had finishes. But yeah, Johnson versus Enrique da Silva, and especially Pantoja versus Shelton, despite going to decision, were actually pretty fun fights. My picks, not too bad. Got 8 out of 12. The four I missed, excuse me, four I missed are Pantoja versus Shelton, Johnson versus Enrique da Silva, uh, Li Jingliang versus Bobby Nash, and Masvidal versus Cerrone. Bonuses. Four performance of the night bonuses, no fight of the night. So the bonuses went to Shevchenko, Masvidal, Ngannou, and Jason Knight. So pretty much all of the winners of the main card. So let's get started. I'm a little sick, so I'm going to be coughing quite a bit and whatnot. Sorry about that, guys, but wanted to really get the show out. So, in the main event, Valentina Shevchenko defeated Juliana Pena by armbar in the second round. I liked that Shevchenko won. I liked the way that she won. I like how she won in the way that she did too. First things first. Um, those trip takedowns uh, from the clinch against the cage were real slick. I've actually practiced those before. I'm not good at them. I can't get that timing down, and I haven't practiced them very much. But in practice, you know, I'm capable of doing it. When I actually spar, I can never hit this move. Like ever. I mean, that type of trip taken, like timing the knee and tripping the other leg like that, it's pretty hard to do. Um, and she did it twice to Pena, so that was real slick. First of all, too, is Pena's strength is on the ground. If Pena was going to be stronger than Shevchenko, it would be on the ground. So the fact that Shevchenko was able to take her down there, get some dominant positions at times, she can hold it, get some ground and pound in there and whatnot, good stuff. And then in the second round, getting that armbar, I mean, that was slick. She was setting that up, and she got an armbar, and she more or less, in a sense, beat Pena at her own game, just in the sense that she beat her on the ground where Pena is strongest, and also Pena was on top, so Pena is the strongest, strongest on top, um, and Shevchenko, despite being on the bottom, still beat her, like despite the fact that Pena was. She wasn't mounted. She didn't have like mount or the back or something, but she was where she wanted to be. One thing about Pena, I definitely have issues, I guess, with the way Pena fights, because I find it very similar to how Paige Van Zant fights. Uh, just like this really bad striking and more of relentlessness and just toughness and takedown than technique. That's the problem, and I see this with Penny a lot. She muscles a lot of her takedown. In this fight, if she can't get the initial takedown, she's kind of forced to muscle her way to the ground. Once she's on the ground and she gets the position she wants, she does really well. Um, but the problem with Pena is that she's just really sloppy. Honestly, she's not the most technically sound fighter. She's just I mean, like, but she makes up for it in being just tough and relentless. And it's worked for her so far. It's just one of those things. I used a Paige example because Paige is kind of like that too. But eventually, just the in most cases, when that's the case, the more technical fighter tends to win eventually. There's just a point where it's like, hey, that's just not going to work. You can't muscle takedowns on everyone because everyone's got good technique to counter that strength. Um, and like I can't even say that about like Ronda Rousey because at least with Ronda Rousey, yeah, I don't like her entries and her boxing's terrible. But once she gets the clinch, the way she gets her opponent down isn't like muscling. I mean, she's using some form of technique to get her opponent to the ground. That's the thing. She isn't just muscling. Um, Pena though, at times she can muscle a lot. But she did eventually get her to the ground. But Shevchenko was working the high guard, latching onto that wrist. Got a really nice armbar, went belly down, and from there, they rolled into a really nice slick armbar that Pena had to tap from. Shevchenko's the real deal. I mean, striking, she's a great counter striker, real patient. Everything she does is slick, She doesn't tend to overextend too much. She has a good takedown defense. She has good ground abilities. Her offensive takedown ability is actually really good from the clinch. She took down Holly Holm like more than once as well. Excuse me. And took down Pena here twice as well. This is her first submission win, I think, in like 11 years or something like that. Like I just read that somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not. So with that said, Nunez versus Shevchenko 2 has got to happen. I mean, it's got to happen now because those that saw that fight, that they make the same argument. Hey, Nunez won the first 2 rounds, sure, but Shevchenko won that 3rd round, and it looked like Nunez was getting tired after that 3rd round. So, or once that 3rd round happened, and so, with 5 rounds, maybe Shevchenko can win. The other thing that Nunez and Shevchenko did that I liked, they sold the fight. It's like, if there's, maybe there wasn't too much interest in Nunez versus Shevchenko too, but no, you sold the fight, there's a little smack talk and whatnot, and now it's like, hey, you know what, there really isn't some against Nunez, there isn't really anyone that interesting to fight against her. That's on some sort of like extended win streak or whatnot. I think the next person down is Raquel Pennington. And that's an alright fight, but like Shevchenko just beat Holm, the one that beat first person to beat Ronda Rousey. And now she just beat Pena. So it's like she's been beating like top level competition in her last two bouts. And then when she fought Nunez, she did really well for herself. So yeah, I definitely wanna see Nunez versus Shevchenko too. I think that's a good fight. I think that Shevchenko has a chance of winning that fight. So um, yeah, I hope to see that pretty soon. With Juliana Pena, I think she should probably get like Alexis Davis next. Would be pretty good because she's coming off loss to McMahon, or she can get the loser of McMahon versus Carmouche. I don't know if it gets any easier for Pena because like Alexis Davis is a really good grappler. I don't know if she's as good of a wrestler as Pena, but she's a really good grappler. I don't know if Pena can like enforce her game on Davis. And then McMahon is a really, for example, if she beats like if they ever fight, it's like McMahon's a really good wrestler. So I don't know if Pena can get McMahon down, but McMahon might be able to get Pena down. So like that's the thing with Pena. I don't know how far her toughness and her resilience has gone her as far as this far, but this fight and actually even like the first round of the Cat Zingano fight kind of exposed some flaws in Juliana Pena's game. Next round, that Jorge Masvidal defeated Donald Cerrone by TKO in the second round. I think there's a good argument that the fight should have been stopped in the first round, at the end of the first round. But with that said, I think most were surprised by this. I was surprised by it. I mean, to hedge a bit, I did say that, like, Masvidal, I'm pretty sure I said in the predictions that Masvidal is a better boxer than Cerrone, but Cerrone's improving his boxing. Um, and that really showed here. The other thing that Masvidal showed was some power in his strikes too, because he's always shown to be like not super heavy-handed. Just I mean, he isn't pillow-fisted, that's for sure, but he's just kind of like that in between. Um, he looked well studied too. His hand placement. Yeah, I mean, he took some hits to kicks to the leg and the body, but he always had his hands up for to block that head kick. Cerrone did well. He actually had a couple good left hooks on Masvidal as well, but he really, I don't think Cerrone was able to get his kicking game as good as I've seen it against other opposition. Um, I don't know. It's because Cerrone put himself in a boxing range, or Masvidal put Cerrone in the range that he wanted. It actually seemed more like Masvidal managed to get Cerrone in the range that he wanted, which is a boxing range, and where Masvidal was just stronger. So yeah. So with that said, I mean this was pretty much the biggest win of Masvidal's career, at least in the UFC. He just beat a top five welterweight. If I'm not mistaken, Cerrone's pretty high up there, and Masvidal is like number 12. Masvidal at this point should probably get like a Neil Magny would be a good fight for him next. Dong Hyun Kim, if they want to go with maybe some title eliminator or something for the winner of Thompson versus Woodley, could go Masvidal versus Maya. That wouldn't be the worst fight out there. Donald Cerrone, he can fight. There's people that have probably lost to these guys. Cerrone versus Safadine wouldn't be too bad. If you want to go winner versus loser, Gunnar Nelson versus Donald Cerrone wouldn't be too bad either. Cerrone versus Dong Hyun Kim. Be pretty cool too. Um, so there's a lot of good fights, and it's Cerrone. He'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. So, it doesn't even have to be this guy. It'd just be some dude that, like, pulled out of a fight, you know. Cerrone might want to take the fight on short notice or something. Next fight after that, Francis Ngannou defeated Andre Arlovsky by TKO in the first round. Um, what can we say about Francis Ngannou except this guy is a monster of a man. Honestly, and he is the hype train keeps going for this guy because so far this guy just we don't know of any real weaknesses. Yeah, his takedown defense probably needs some work, but his ability to get back to his feet. His overall takedown defense actually isn't that bad. He's actually quick about getting like underhooks. But when he does get taken down, he's really good at getting back to his feet when he's taken down, and it's exploding back to his feet, you know? So it's like, the other thing that's really surprising about Francis Ngannou, too, is just how calm this guy is. Just for a guy 10 fights in his career who's not even I mean, he's been doing MMA for what, like 3 or 4 years, and he's never even heard of MMA before that. And to be just this calm in the cage and poised, I mean, you can't really teach that. He just has like good instincts. He doesn't go too crazy, you know. He has crazy good reflexes and insane athleticism, and he's super strong. I mean, and he's 30. You know, I mean, he's a relatively for heavyweight. That's pretty young. You know, we need heavyweight has needed new blood for a while. He is a welcome addition to the top of the division. I'm very curious to see what he does next because man, right now, this guy's got no weaknesses. You know, I mean, uh, it's to the point with Francis Ngannou where it's like I picked against him once, and then he ended up winning against Curtis Blades. Well, he actually thinks a pretty solid prospect himself, but I don't think I'm gonna pick against Francis Ngannou until he starts losing like quite a bit. You know. Heck, he can fight Cain Velasquez, and I might be like, I might even pick Francis Ngannou and be like a Cain Velasquez. That's how high I am on him right now. Um, Arlovsky, I don't know what it was. He was actually doing relatively well, but like I think the story was kind of there, and everyone said it. It's like, okay, Arlovsky could be doing well, but the minute he gets hit by this guy, he's done, and that's what happened. And this guy hits so hard. He hit him with a nice like 2-hit combination. That's all they do. It's a combination strike. It wasn't some single punch. It was like a left and a right, and then fall up ground and pound. So and Ngannou is picking up MMA real fast. His learning curve's insane. I think we're actually a bit lucky that we have this guy in the UFC, just in the sense that football didn't take him. You know, I mean, maybe not the NFL or something, but whatever the league is before that, or some other sport, didn't take him, soccer or something. Um, so with that said, Ngannou got like Ben Rothwell next, Josh Barnett, winner of Hunt versus Overeem. Arlovsky's on this really bad losing streak. I kind of hope he doesn't get cut. I really want them to give him a softball. Like honestly, just give him some stylistic softball. Like I give him some like really low level guy. Give him Victor Pesta. I don't know, like someone like that, someone he can beat up. I would like to see that instead of, don't give him like Ben Rothwell. Don't give him like Mark Hunt. Give him someone that like, I guess a tune-up fight is what I'm saying, really. Because I like Arlovsky. I hope he. I don't know if he's gonna retire after this or whatever, uh, but I'd like to actually see him start winning again. And so after that, Jason Knight defeated Alex Caceres by rear naked choke in the second round. I like Jason Knight. When he came to UFC, I was like, dude, this guy is gonna get cut so fast. He was like this guard player. With like no striking ability. Now he's like this like Diaz like striker. But not as crisp. He's just a guy that keeps going forward. Will eat one to give three. You know. Keeps going forward, tough as nails, and has a really good sneaky ground game. So, not unlike the Diaz brothers in that sense. Not as a clean of a boxer as those guys, of course, but like he just has that like swagger about him in the cage that they kind of have, I guess. He beat Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy acquitted himself pretty well. I mean, it was a fun fight, but like that's the thing with Caceres. He's really like a hot and cold fighter. Like he can do relatively well, but like he's not he's not very consistent. Um, you know, his you do see improvement with him, but it's very incremental. Like his boxing is just a little more crisp. Every time out. Sometimes his ground game gets just a little better, or his takedown defense is a little better, but like, you know, at this point though, he's kind of a veteran, um, like a veteran action fighter, and like, honestly, that's pretty much where he should be at this point. Jason Knight, he's only 24 years old. He called out the Korean Superboy. I think it'll actually be a pretty cool fight. I don't know if um, I, if I guess he deserves it, I guess. But like, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. It's from going to Alex Caceres to like Dooho Choi, it just seems like a big leap, I guess. But at the same time, Dooho Choi hasn't really beaten. Like he had that fight of the year against Swanson, but he didn't win. He actually hasn't beaten a like real top level guy yet. So like in a sense, Jason Knight versus Dooho Choi is actually appropriately placed. I suppose is what I'm saying. So then want to go with that next. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a fun action fight. Got on the prelims. Sam Alvey defeated Nate Marquardt by unanimous decision. Um, Pretty much what I expected, except without a knockout. Uh, Sam Alvey's actually on a win streak, and but it's the same thing with Alvey. It's like he's looking for that counter punch, or else if he does go forward, it's kind of in these weird like short spurts, these like blitzes, where he generally throws the same combination. He has heavy hands and good takedown. Sam Alvey's a very underrated wrestler in the sense of not offensively, but just defensively. He's pretty hard to take down, and he's especially tough to take down against the cage. It's you can tell his Team Quest training, or you can really see his training with Team Quest. Which he's been training there for like a long time now. He's good enough to beat a good amount of these like mid-level guys though. Last time he lost it was against what like, but then he'll lose to like an Elias Theodoro in this like really crappy fight because like Alvey has a very like transparent game. Like he's looking to counter strike. He is not fleet of foot. He's not particularly athletic. So Elias Theodore just threw kicks from a kick from the outside, got out of the way, and did that for like 3 rounds, and it was really boring. But it won him the fight, you know. Um, so you can plan around Sam Alvey. Uh, and Marquardt, guy can't take a hit, like he used to. That's the thing. So with that said, Alvey, I mean, at this point, with the 4 fight win streak, I suppose he should fight higher level competition and stop fighting like mid level guys. Maybe fight like a Christoph Jotko or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting. Or Rafael Natal. Um, Marquardt, like he's kind of doing this like win loss thing. So it's more lower to mid tier guys of the division for him. And so I thought Rafael Sancho defeated Aljamain Sterling by split decision. Um, Here's the thing with Sterling. He has a lot of talent. He is a great grappler, but dude can't box. I mean, just for whatever reason, even though he's training under Longo, dude cannot throw hands. I mean, like, yeah, he throw it every, here and there, but like, he just cannot box. He also can't he's bad at boxing range too. Like he gets hit in boxing range quite a bit. Like every time like a Sancho threw the overhand right, pretty much, it's like Aljamain Sterling got hit by it. Aljamain Sterling has an outside kicking game, and he ain't Yair Rodriguez, so like it's not super quick or powerful kicks. Yair Rodriguez throws kicks like they're jabs. And then as Sterling's on the inside, he's looking to take his opponent down. Once he's able to take an opponent down, though, he can really get to work. But that in-between space, especially in boxing range, it's not his game. I was fine with this decision, too. I thought Assunção got the harder hits in and whatnot. I don't really see anything that Aljo did that, like, was particularly, like, winning him the rounds. So, this fight, though, I mean, it wasn't a good look for either of these guys. And Aljamain Sterling, I mean, he lost his last fight against Caraway, and then he just lost this fight. 2 fight losing streak. I would like to see them give him, like, I guess a softball fight. I hope they do. He is a good talent. He is still a very good prospect. He's just missing certain parts of the game that opponents seemingly can take advantage of, I guess. Sancho's a Sancho. This guy can win some pretty ugly fights. He's kind of a counter striker, really good takedown defense, legit BJJ black belt. Pretty good scrambler too, actually. It's hard to keep down. With that said, Sancho's pretty high ranked. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight like a Lineker, Dominic Cruz, or like a Jimmy Rivera next. As far as that, Li Jingliang defeated Bobby Nash by knockout in the second round. Fun fight. If there was a fight of the night, this would have probably been it, or maybe like Jason Knight versus Caceres or something like that. I thought Bobby Nash, I picked him to win, but he lost. He got knocked out. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. It really was a battle of like the left hook versus the overhand right, and Li Jingliang, he's also just more experienced too. Lee, his takedown defense is actually pretty good. He's a big guy for the weight class. He can wrestle himself, and his boxing's not too bad. He has some power in his strikes. I actually said that in the predictions. Bobby Nash has some power in the strike too. His wrestling for MMA isn't that great, for a guy with a wrestling background. He he kind of shoots from pretty far out, and it looks like he wants to strike a lot more than he wants to wrestle. Um, he actually hit Li Jingliang pretty hard too in the first round. I think he dropped him actually. But Li Jingliang, that second round, that final strikes, just really put Bobby Nash out. Li Jingliang is a what I would consider a good prospect and a good, solid all-around fighter, but just he's not great at any one aspect of MMA, you know. But he's always dangerous. He has some power. He has experience, so it's a good win. He Li Jingliang seems to win a lot more than he loses in the UFC, especially when he fights like mid-level guys. It's a really tough test for a lot of guys. Uh, so I'm curious to see where he goes from here. I think he's probably just fight more mid-level guys. I think both these guys should just fight more mid-level guys. Next one is that Jordan Johnson defeated Luis Enrique de Silva by unanimous decision. I was pretty way off with this prediction actually. Jordan Johnson was pretty good. He's a pretty good prospect. Good wrestler. Striking actually looked a lot more improved than what I've seen in his regional scene stuff. So I like what I see from him. His wrestling's good. His ground pound's good. He's good in the ride position. Stand up didn't look that bad. There's a lot to like about this guy. And light heavyweight, or as what's his name? Brian Stan was saying he's thinking that both these guys could probably cut down to 185. Heck, heck, 185 can always use new prospects too. So, I actually thought Jordan Johnson at 6'2" and 205. I mean, he's not gonna be that. He's not gonna be undersized. I mean, that's a good size light heavyweight. So I like what I see from him. I think he's got a good future in the division. His wrestling's gonna at light heavyweight will probably take him pretty far. I can actually see him be something of a Ryan Bader type guy who always has that wrestling in his back pocket, but then will slowly but surely improve his striking and just keep improving it until it gets solid. And he looks like he has some power. So yeah, I like what I see out of Johnson. Luis Enrique, he he's a guy. Despite getting his ability to actually get some wins in the UFC, I think the cracks are starting to show. I mean, they've always been there, but Paul Craig submitted him, made him look bad, and Johnson just made him look bad too. He needs some more seasoning in the regional scene. He's young for this weight division. You know, he has a pretty good clinch striking game. He makes fights ugly, but he could be something in the future. What that is, I don't really know. But I think there is some potential with him. Jordan Johnson, though, just if both of them stay, there's more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. So as that, Eric Spicey defeated Alessia De Chirico by triangle choke in the first round. I don't think Eric Spicey is some great prospect. I picked him to win here though. But he is a very tricky guy on the ground. I kind of thought he'd get his single leg takedown, pass, take the back, get the choke, but that wasn't the case. If he actually wants to fight though, once he gets him against a cage, he actually goes for the single leg. I was like, oh yeah, Eric Spicey can go for the single leg, and that's what he did initially. He tried to get a takedown to Chirico, but Chirico reversed it. But Eric Spicey's crafty guy, man. I mean, locked in that triangle choke. made some adjustments to get it even tighter. And Jericho actually had a hand in there, but was still tapping to that triangle choke. So that's some good stuff from Spicy. He's definitely someone you don't want to mess with on the ground. On the feet, he doesn't look that great. It looks like he just uses his striking to set up his wrestling and his ground game. Hey, it's fine. It'll work. At middleweight, they'll work. You know, some guys eventually are going to be able to defend the takedowns and beat them up. Um, Sam Alvey was one of those guys. He didn't even beat him up. He just choked him out. Of all things that Sam Alvey could do. But nonetheless, Eric Spicy, um, 2 wins in the UFC and both finishes in the first round. If it looks like by sub, so you know, showed that he at least belongs here. Uh, I personally think he's going to be stuck in mid card limbo. Like this mid level like purgatory is what I call it. But yeah, dangerous on the ground. What can I say? Let's go to Chirico. This guy is still pretty young. I think he's only 26. He could be something in the future. What that is, I don't know. No, seriously, because it's like his striking's everything's like okay with this guy. Striking's good, his wrestling's pretty good, but like he can't really put it all together. But he's young enough that like he can, you know, we can see improvements with this guy. You know, eventually, I think he can be pretty solid. I don't know if he'll be a top 10 guy, but I don't know if seasoning. I don't know. He had a hard time with Gareth McClellan, so maybe seasoning in the regional scene is kind of what he needs, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, he's coming off a win before this and now a loss. So, both these guys should just fight more lower to mid guys in the division. So I thought Marcos Rogero de Lima defeated Jeremy Kimball by TKO in the first round. Um, that was kind of weird how like Kimball kind of slipped. And it looks like the second time he slipped again. But if you look at it in slow mo, Lima throws his punch that seems to hit behind the ear of Kimball, and then the follow up ground and pound. I can't really say much for these guys. Jeremy Kimball should probably move down to middleweight. I think that's where he usually fights, if I'm not mistaken, if not even welterweight. Um, and Marcus Rogero de Lima, I think, is just going to be a fun action fighter for like one round. And that's really where these two end. Like I can't really see Jeremy Kimball being too much, and I think Marcos Rogero de Lima has like one good round in him. Hits like a truck. Ground game is still a bit questionable. Takedown defense is just all right at best. But action fighter. Both guys should just fight more lower to mid guys of the division. So after that, on the UFC Fight Pass prelims, Alexander Pantoja defeated Eric Shelton by split decision. Big Shelton, I don't regret that because it could have gone either way. I have to say, I think Eric Shelton has more upside than Pantoja, but at this point, Pantoja is just the better fighter. One of the biggest problems with Eric Shelton is that guy gives his back up way too much. I think he is a little too confident in being able to scramble out of things. Because, like, the first time he got his back taken, I was like, dude, I don't even know how you got your back taken. It looks like you just kind of gave up your back for no good reason. As far as athleticism goes, though, it's a lot to like with Eric Shelton. The way he hits takedowns, it's really fast and athletic. Scrambling ability's really good. He was tired, but he still kept fighting. And I think that guy has a really bright future in the flyweight division. At this point, though, I think Pantoja though is on the up and up too. He's pretty well rounded. Striking isn't that bad. He's got a good chin, and his ground game's really good, especially at taking the back. There's a lot to like about him, and a lot to like with both these guys. Fight for more like mid to lower level guys of the division. And finally, Jason Gonzalez defeated JC Cottrell by Darce choke in the first round. JC Cottrell, I mean, is probably going to get cut after this. He lost to Prazeres before this, and now he lost to Gonzalez. I like Gonzalez. I think he's actually pretty solid. Striking wise, he actually hits pretty hard, and he made good use of his long limbs by hitting that Darce choke. I don't really think he's going to be some great prospect or anything like that. Could just off out as a fun action fighter, but he's a guy I can see slowly improving, maybe getting some wins here and there. He could maybe hit a win streak eventually. Um, might hit a wall though, eventually, but nonetheless, I think he's solid enough. So just more like lower to mid tier guys of the division for him. So that's pretty much it for my post fight analysis for UFC on Fox 23. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And check out my author's website at www.chrismaldon.com. Check out uh, my storytelling podcast, Chris's Storytelling Corner, on like SoundCloud or YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. And also, you can buy my new short story collection, 10 short stories, over 100 pages of content, for $2.99 on Amazon. So, that's pretty much it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.